I would like to welcome you again to our weekly virtual forum. Today in the US at this time, it's 11 a.m. on Friday, March 12th. And I'm reminded every year on this day that it's the anniversary of the martyrdom, the murder of Rutilio Grande in 1977 in El Salvador while he was traveling from one small base Christian community to another to share for him the Eucharist, but also to share the good news of Latin American liberation theology and the fact that Jesus was on their side in their struggle for justice and liberation from an incredibly brutal dictatorship backed by the United States for decades. And Grande was killed again in 1977 and left a really prophetic legacy in his country. He was the inspiration for Oscar Romero, who I believe all of you have heard of, who went on to himself be martyred a little bit more than 3 years later, as well as the North American churchwomen, the Jesuits, housekeeper daughter, and 75,000 other people, innocent people who were killed during a war we backed, we being the United States, throughout the 1980s in that tiny country in Central America. So El Salvador is very dear to IPM and the IPM family. We have a more than 40-year presence there and continue to be inspired by the work of our staff and partners there, but I would be remiss not to recall Rutilio Grande on today's anniversary. Today we are thrilled as we continue with these weekly virtual forums to share the good news of IPM's project partners, community partners, regional staff, and friends around the world. And as many of you know, we began and have been implementing a virtual immersion experience program in concert with our traditional in-person immersion experience program in response to the novel coronavirus and COVID-19 pandemic. We began that last spring in conjunction with IPM's anniversary, which was on May 10th. Will be coming up again this year. 47 years, which is hard to believe. But we are doing a virtual immersion literally right now in India with, excuse me, the support of our colleagues and partners and friends there, particularly Mahesh Upadhyaya and Hemant, Bindia, Soni, who are also on this call. And this past week, we had a absolutely just stirring, powerful, emotional presentation from two people that I met a number of years ago, and other members of the IPM family have had the opportunity to meet, who just do incredibly remarkable work in their community. And they were joined by a new member of their organization, Tanvika, Gulyani. But Indira and Maya, as you saw in our email invite to this meeting, are the co-coordinators of the Vikalp women's group in, I'll just say, the state of Gujarat, for people that know India well, in their own town there. And we were so moved by their presentation last week, and there was so much additional discussion that we could have had. We thought it would be appropriate to invite them to join us for today's virtual forum to speak from their perspective on gender, sexuality, and solidarity, highlighting Vikalp's really remarkable work advocating for the rights of marginalized women and gender and sexual minorities. That's their language. I've marveled at their work, as I've mentioned, since we first met, and how they continue to courageously nurture and support the LGBTQ plus community in the town where they're located. And they have welcomed IPM over the years, including my dear friend Heidi Madsen, long before I even made it there. And it's just a real honor and a privilege for me, on behalf of the entire IPM family, to introduce them and the other folks that are joining them this morning, US time. It's evening in India. It's rather late there. So we want to turn the program over to them to let them take this opportunity to share with you. And then, as has been the case, we'll open it up for an open dialogue, questions, comments, whatever you might have. I would remind you to mute yourself, as you're probably all familiar with Zoom now if you're not speaking. And if you're on Facebook, feel free to type a question or comment into that feed, and we'll share that with them during their presentation. You can also utilize the chat function here on Zoom if you're joining us live on Zoom. Also, just a quick reminder, Fatima was looking for the link to this. For some reason, she doesn't have this, so we're hoping that our former regional director, current Fulbright scholar at the University of Albany in New York, will also be able to join us. She's quite passionate about the kind of work that, that all of you are doing in India right now. So without further ado, I'll introduce Indira and Maya, and I'll let you decide how you want to introduce everyone else. But thank you again for being here and for sharing your time and your stories with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. But we also share our common struggles for peace, struggle, and for justice. So to begin with this hope, this is how we had planned the session. That we first introduce ourselves, all four of us, and then share a little bit about our work, and then perhaps leave the session for discussions. I hope that's okay with all of us, if that is the way we should go ahead.
Yes, that would be wonderful.
So should I begin with my introduction? As my gray hair tells you, I'm an older woman. So whenever I make this presentation, I tend to get into long drawn histories. But I have younger ones with me who I'm sure stop me from going too far into history. But I identify as a lesbian, a feminist activist, and I really took a very long time to come to realize who I am, because our days were very you had to get married in India. People still have to get married, men and women, but women even more compulsorily. And so I got married, but soon after my departure, I really found the life that I wanted to live, like protesting on the streets, being able to recognize that there were many women like me who loved women and were not able to speak out. So I didn't know who to approach really. So Vikalp was very supportive of the work that I wanted to do. I began writing, collecting stories of women who love women, and in the process, I realized that women were very isolated, and so I took back my research into the field, and we began working on the ground in the rural tribal areas of Gujarat, basically. Actually, the community took us to different parts of Gujarat. We were not really decision makers because the LGBTQ people that we worked with were widely spread over Gujarat. We mostly concentrate on female-bodied queer people. And of course, we also work a lot around gender, but gender, that means cis women. But perhaps I'll come to that later on. This is just a brief introduction of myself. And which one do you want to go? Come here. You introduce.
Hi, my name is Vikram, and I'm a trans man. I'm with Vikalp since 2004, and it took very so much of effort from my side to find Vikalp, to find Indira and Maya. Actually, it was my first breakup. When I really required somebody to understand me and my situation, I was trying to commit suicide. I was actually planning it. And fortunately, I saw an article wrote about the movie The Fire. Actually, it was done by some young activists who were fighting for that nonsense which was showed in that movie for lesbians and the community people. So I got the number of the NGO very like it took so hard. They were actually not giving me the number. They were saying we cannot share the number. We cannot share the number. But what happened? They insisted. The person they started asking Indra and Maya. So I got the number somehow, and I met them in 2004. So I felt so relief after meeting them because I found that they were the only person in my life that time with whom we can I could have shared my experience, who could have showed me the right path that time. Hello. And after coming to the NGO, I came to know about SRS surgery. And earlier, I was feeling like some miracle will happen overnight, and I will turn into a boy. But after coming to the NGO, I came to know about SRS. So it took like 3 years for our whole team at Vikalp team to fight for that surgery. Actually, like for free of cost, we got it done in a government hospital. And I'm not so rich, so we plan to get a shortcut for it and convenient way by which I can get it done in a cheaper cost. So in 2008, I got it done in just for 2,500 rupees because of the help of my NGO. I guess it's a short introduction. Many more things are there. Okay, I want to speak next.
मैं किरण हूँ और मैं यहाँ से 300 किलोमीटर दूर एक गांव से आता हूँ और मैं 2003 से विकल्प से जुड़ा हुआ हूँ और विकल्प का एक इंटरव्यू आया था, चित्रलेखा करके मैगजीन थी, उसमें इंटरव्यू आया हुआ था माया बहन का और उसमें बॉक्स नंबर हुआ करते थे और मैंने उसमें लेटर लिखा और इन्होंने फिर
Hello, Mahesh. Will you translate or should we do the translation?
Yeah, I can do that.
So we'll keep breaking in between.
Yeah, sure. Hi, Kiran. Aapko pehle bhi mila. My name is Kiran. I come from a village which is around 300 kilometers away from Baroda. And I joined Vikalp in 2003. I read about an interview by Maya in a magazine. I didn't get the name. And there was a postbox.
Postbox, yeah.
Postbox.
Chitralekha was the magazine.
Chitralekha was this thing. And there was a postbox number on it, which people could write into. That was the starting point of my connection with Vikalp. Yeah, thanks.
फिर ये लोग मेरे को मेरे गांव में मिलने आए। पहले तो मैं बहुत डरा हुआ था कि पता नहीं कौन लोग होंगे, मेरे को उठा के ले जाएंगे, मेरे को बेच देंगे, ये सब हो रहा था मेरे को डर।
Okay, they came to meet me in the village, and I was scared initially whether they come to kidnap me or take me away. So I was very fearful about them.
फिर मुझे पता चला कि मैं अपने आप को पहले लेस्बियन ही समझता था क्योंकि और कोई कुछ पता ही नहीं था, शब्द के बारे में मालूम नहीं था। फिर यहाँ आकर मुझे पता चला कि मैं ट्रांस मैन हूँ। मैं वो लेस्बियन वाली फीलिंग मेरे में कोई थी नहीं, मैं अपने आप को मर्द ही समझता था और क्राइटेरिया का कोई को समझ नहीं था तब।
Yeah, so initially I thought I was a lesbian, and then I discovered that I'm actually a trans male. So and then I realized I'm not a lesbian at all. So that was the process of discovering myself.
मैं घर छोड़कर फिर यहाँ आया और मेरी बहुत तरह की ट्रेनिंग हुई, बैंकिंग से लेकर पासपोर्ट तक और वो सारी ट्रेनिंग हुई और यहाँ आकर मेरे को पता चला कि MSW जैसा कोई कोर्स होता है, तो फिर मैंने वो यहाँ से पढ़ाई भी की यहाँ से।
Okay, and then I came here, and then I came to know about various kinds of trainings that happen in Vikalp, which I participated in, many of them. And later on, I discovered a program called the MSW, which is a Master in Social Work, right? Am I correct?
Right.
Yeah, and in Baroda itself. So that's how this thing. The thing is, when you speak in Hindi, when a man speaks about the gender aspect of language is different, you know. So there's certain things you catch out when you know the language. It's very hard to translate it into English. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Mahesh.
तो मैं जहाँ जॉब कर रहा था, मैंने कितनी बार वहाँ बताया था सबको, स्टाफ में, कि भी मैं ठीक है मैं लड़की हूँ पर मैं लड़की नहीं हूँ, मेरा इंटरेस्ट सिर्फ लड़कियों में है और मैं ट्रांसमैन हूँ। तो वो लोग ये बात मानने के लिए तैयार ही नहीं है। उन्होंने मुझे बोला कि सीधा मुंह पे तो नहीं बोला, पर वो आपस में बातें करते थे कि है तो आखिर लड़की ही ना। तो और मेरे को चिढ़ाने के लिए मैडम करके बुलाते थे, तो मेरे को बिल्कुल अच्छा नहीं लगता था।
So at my workplace, you know, I used to face a lot of issues with other people, and she used to tell them I'm a girl, you know, but I'm yet not a girl, and I'm a trans. So that was something that they found very hard to accept. And they said, yeah, but ultimately you're a woman, no? That's what they tried to say. And they used to call her like madam all the time to tease her about it. So they would call her madam. We say madam in it's an English word, but we use it usually for women working with us.
और मेरा एक इंटरव्यू में मेरे एक सर ने ये पूछ लिया कि क्या आप पैंट पहनती हो, तो आप जहाँ गांव में काम करोगी तो वहाँ की औरतें क्या पैंट पहनने लगेगी? तो मैंने कहा कि वो तो उन पे डिपेंड है सर, कि उसको क्या पहनना है, बाकी मैं तो यही पहनूंगा।
When she says so, obviously it's somebody who is superior to her in the office was working and said, if you wear a trouser, a pant, and go to the village and work there, do you think other women also will do the same? And so she said then that it's a matter of personal choice, you know, what to wear and what not to wear. Maya, am I doing well correctly?
Yes. Kiran uses the masculine term for himself.
Yeah. Okay. So he says that when I was asked like this about wearing trousers, so I told them that's a matter of personal choice. That's what he said.
गांव में मेरे को बोला, एक भाई ने मेरे को बोला था कि तुम यहाँ क्या कर रहे हो, आपको तो भेड़ बकरियां चरानी चाहिए, तुम ये जॉब में कैसे आ गए हो?
While working in the village, somebody asked him, you know, what are you doing here? You should actually be bhed bakriya is like cattle. You should be tending to cattle, rearing cattle.
Also because the caste is very strong in the villages, and Kiran belongs to Bharwar community, who are not supposed to be learned or reading and writing or doing professional work. So that is the whole of putting down someone, you know, someone from an oppressed caste. It's a way to put people down.
मैंने विकल्प को बहुत सारी चिट्ठियां लिखी। आज तक कोई भी मेरे को प्रॉब्लम हो, कभी कभी मेरे को सुसाइड करने के ख्याल आते हैं, मैं डिप्रेशन में हूँ और मेरा कोई सपोर्ट नहीं कर रहा है, मेरी कोई बात मानने के लिए तैयार नहीं है, तब मेरे को यही एक ही रास्ता दिखता है और मैं माया बहन को या इंदिरा को फोन करता हूँ और वो मुझे बहुत हिम्मत देते हैं। यहाँ से मेरे को बहुत जानने को सीखने को मिला है और जो भी कुछ मेरी आज समझ बनी है वो यही से बनी है।
So he says that I wrote many letters to Vikalp, and often I had depression and suicidal thoughts along the way, and it's very challenging in our society. But Maya was always there to give me courage, and she was very caring, and that has sort of helped me go through this process and emerge as a stronger man.
मेरी फैमिली वैसे ऊपर से मेरे को सपोर्ट करती है, पर अंदर से एक्सेप्ट नहीं करती है। वो कुछ बोलते नहीं है पर पूरा एक्सेप्ट नहीं करती है। तो अभी कोविड के दिनों के दरमियान जब लॉकडाउन हुआ और जब घर में रहना पड़ा 24 घंटे, बाहर नहीं जा सकते थे, तो मुझे बहुत घर में बहुत ज्यादा मुझे इग्नोर कर रहे हो, और वैसा मेरे को फील हुआ, और बहुत अलग से रख रहे हैं, और उन लोगों को, बच्चे को अलग से रख रहे हैं, मेरे को अलग से रख रहे हैं, ऐसा मुझे हुआ और मेरे को बहुत दुख हुआ। और कोविड में मेरे फादर भी चले गए, ये एक्सपायर्ड ड्यू टू कोविड।
Yeah, so referring to the COVID situation and the reason why, because of the lockdown, they had to stay at home, right? If I got it correctly. And then I was always excluded and treated separately from the others. And so my family members, right, Kiran, मेरे परिवार के लोग स्वीकार नहीं कर रहे, so my family members are not accepting me at all. So then Kiran had to sort of cope with that, the sadness of it all too, you know, and the loneliness of it all. ठीक है किरण जी.
So namaste from India. I'm Indira, and I consider myself as, I call myself gender non-binary, but more inclined towards trans masculinity. So this is my identity. When I look back as a child, I was a very odd child in my house, and I was not accepted. I was a loner. I didn't go to a proper schooling, and that was because I was different. I didn't fit into the bracket of male or female. So that's how my childhood was. But I was a very good sports person. I used to play very good. And my association with left parties, if I look back, I would say that I was in search of my own identity. And when I started my life with my elder brother was a party member, left party he used to go, and I used to follow him. So there I found that this understanding of class was very strong and very good. I learned that. It became very clear. But then my own issue was absent. It was never discussed. And women's rights was absent. There was no discussion about it. And that led me to go to women's organization. I started working there. I understood many things about women's rights. But I was again a misfit there because I never related myself as a woman. And my issue was again absent there. So that's the kind of thing that I was looking for. How do I work on my own issue? I mean, there was no word in India it was only one word at that time that people would refer was lesbian. There was no other category which was known to us. Or in Hindi, there was no such words. So it was only the English words that later on helped us in understanding different criteria. And in '96, when all of us started Vikalp, it was more focused on women's rights, on issues of women. And that led me, and at that time I was also interacting with the people who were in same-sex relationship. And I had few friends, out of which Maya was a close friend of mine, and she at that time wanted to write a book, and through Vikalp she was supported to document lives of lesbian women in India. That was 2001. And she all the time provoked me that, why don't you work on your issue? Why are you, working on other issues? Other issues are also important, but this is more marginalized. And why can't we take up as an organization this issue? And that's how we started in 2005, Postbox. We started with Postbox. And that's how people started contacting us. And at this stage, I would say that we have contacted more than 300 couples in Gujarat. And the number is still growing, which is very encouraging, very inspiring for me. And now I feel that I'm not a loner. I've found my family. Still my family is not accepting me. They don't talk about it, and I don't I have always told myself that if they ask me, I'll talk about it. But there is this complete silence. I stay with my partner and my family members come, but they ignore those areas. They don't ask, and I don't talk about it. So that's the understanding we have reached at this stage. But I feel that I'm more, what to say, more at myself,
More at home.
more at home, and more at peace. And the work challenges that we address through Vikalp is very, very encouraging and nice. And I feel very good at this stage of life. Now we are at this stage of we are mostly focused on LGBT issues, and in this organization, earlier we had women's court. They are all on their own. They are self-reliant. They are working on their own. Like women's group in Tilakwara, they are on their own. So the pattern that the way Vikalp works is, they pick up an issue, they work with people, and then the people take over and organization looks for another issue. So at this stage, we are more focused on LGBT issues, which we, the community of, and 2 or 3, like women's court is on its own. Women's Stri Sangathan in Tilakwara, they are working on it, and they have separated from us. They have picked up this, and when they need us, they call, we go, definitely, but they are working on their own. So this is how we operate, and this is what we do. Vikram wants to add something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to add the things which happened actually after my SRS. It was a very good as well as a very bad time for me, because I was working in the same organization. While working in that company, I done my SRS surgery. I undergone it. So those my colleagues, their like behavior toward me, or their thinking, their way of talking was totally changed. Few of them were good, but few of them became very worst. I remember in my one of my workshop, when I used to go, actually the workshop was underground. So whenever I used to go in the workshop, the technicians used to bang their underwear elastic, yeah, to show that yeah, we are the man.
We are real man.
Yeah, we are real man. You are the fake one. And they used to tease me, and they used to show down. They just wanted to them. They just wanted me to represent down from my side toward the customers. They wanted to show me down like that. They whenever I used to talk to the customers, they were not saying anything in front of me. But whenever I go from there, after in my absence, they used to talk like bad words about me, or bad things to the customers, like he was a girl and now he is a boy, like that they used to say.
So you have to leave.
Yeah, and I have left so many of my jobs because of this reason. And this is the fresh one. Just on the first, I left the job. That is another reason. That is it's a mixed kind of thing, because I'm a trans man. My family people are thinking like that I am the only responsible person to take care of my grandmother. My parents passed away when I was 11. So earlier my grandma was looking after me. Now she has grown old, very old. She is 85 plus. Now there is nobody to take care of her. Now my family members, they have started accepting me. Earlier they were not accepting me. Now maybe this is because now they want somebody to take care of my grandma, or their behavior toward me has really changed. I don't understand. If they are appreciating my work, that is, then also I have to live in a doubtful way, because I don't have any law to like claim my grandmother's property. I'm taking care of her. But lastly, what will happen? That my uncles will come and they will claim the property, and I'll be having nothing. And presently, like I have to lose my job. Sometimes because of my gender identity, sometimes because of my family issues. They are not ready to accept me. What is the future for me? Either I have to work for myself and I have to leave my grandma alone somewhere, or I have to like take my own way. I don't care about any bloody bullshit. I just want to earn money for my like my upcoming days, for my older age. That time I hope God will not do any wrong thing, but somewhere in my heart I feel like, oh, if I lose my house at the age of 60 or 70, what will happen to me? Because my uncles, they are having their own kids, and their kids will not leave the property. They also want to build something for their kid. They are also working people. We are not business people. Many more things are there, but I guess the time is very less. Sorry, I got emotional.
No,
I think that's
Sometimes you like.
it's
It's
totally, yeah, it's totally fine. And to be expected. We have a few more minutes at least, Maya, for presentation. So feel free.
Hey, Tanvika, so we'll make a quick presentation just to share what, quickly run through some pictures. Just give us some time.
Yeah, sure.
Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
So, okay. So, is this full screen?
Yeah, go ahead, Maya.
It looks
Okay.
fine,
So,
Kiran.
this is basically how we began in 1996 to 99. We began with, actually, we began working with women in the rural tribal areas, and one realized that a lot of them migrated and were getting silicosis, and we fully got involved in this issue. So from violence against women to health issues to fighting in the court, that's how we began actually first on the ground. Then this is a picture of the women's court, which Indra talked of. And this is Parma is the post box that we began with. And then as Parma started to acquire faces and names, we grew into Sabrang. The community named themselves as Sabrang, which means all colors. So here are our two issues, women and queer folks, that we still continue to work with here. This is how the women courts operate. You hold a public hearing in which people bring their cases of domestic violence, child custody, and then the Nari Adalat or the women's court conduct field visits and after the field visits, they arrive at solutions, and in which, like, you exchange the gifts that have been given to each of the families. You write on a stamp paper that they are formally divorced. Basically, all these women are working class, wage earners, and Dalit, the lowest caste that India has. So this is another activity that we do. These are some of the pictures of women who have come to the court with their children. Women who have lost their husband. She's come with her father. And this is there's a woman who's like really talking to the men that, look, you better watch out and be careful. These are some of the trainings that we do. Body mapping, because sexual education is still very much missing in our schools. We attempt to work with the adolescent. And we do a lot of trainings on gender, and which also includes looking at gender not in a binary way, but rather more extensively. These are some of the protests that we have been doing, sort of against the laws that deny sex workers' right or deny the trans people's rights. And these are some of the laws that have come in the process of our continuous lobbying, advocating with the government, and how the government has continuously overturned these laws. In 2009, we had a fairly good judgment, Section 377, which is actually a legacy from the colonial rule, which got overturned in 2013. And then which actually we were recriminalized again. Look at the seesaw that we were living on and how it impacted people. I'll come to that slide again. But again, in 2016, they came out with a very, one of the very independent MLAs, a government person, listened to us, and he came out with a very reasonable kind of a bill. But of course, the majority, the brutal majority that we enjoy in this government, turned it and made their own law. So we protested against that. And but in the whole process, you see what Vikram and Kiran have also shared. In the survey that we conducted, almost everyone has felt suicidal at some time or the other. Almost out of 50 people, 34 people actually have contemplated suicide. And the government has no records, no separate records of the suicides committed by the community, by the LGBTI community. These are some of the cases where we have helped in couples eloping. The cases that they range to about 34 couples over a period of 16 years. That amounts to 2 to 3 couples fleeing every year from their homes. But this is only the numbers of where Vikalp has intervened, and we assume that there would be many more. We know across the country that there are several elopements because we network with various groups. But even within Gujarat, I'm sure there are many more couples who have eloped and have had to return back or suffered court cases, etc. And this is our advocacy work. After the protest against the transgender bill, we had a reasonably good act. But you see, this is a line from a Hindi song that we have come at your doorstep. But look at our fate, that we continuously go on missing you because the government servants don't listen to us. And these are the advocacy workshops that we have done with the legal aid societies which are supposed to do free aid, because they have no clue of what LGBTI issues are, and the fact that they have no clue that trans men exist. So this was a lot of workshops with psychiatrists, health related issues, DLSA, the legal aid cell. And these are some of the books that we looked at the text to see how gender figures. And if you see carefully these cover pages, hardly any women appear, and even if they do so, they are within the range of households or looking at shops. And there's a lot of Hindu religion you see, other than the other religion, and a lot of nationalism. And these are the visits that we undertake with our with our LGBTI community. So it is inside and outside home. I love this tamarind tree. It is thick, thick, like giving you a sense of how many years have gone into building it. And this is inside a home, Saira. And this is at a farmhouse where we went. And this is a kitchen where community people live, our community people live. So this is just a little bit of a glance. And this was an attempt to trace a little bit of queer history. Like I said, I can't help but get into histories being the older, graying old woman. But I just wanted to show you how during the earlier times, there were so many laws that came up for women, but not all women were being treated in the same way. So a lot of us lesbians and trans masculine people actually were left out of the entitlements. And when we did our fact finding, we found that one of the women was actually murdered in her house. And this is in the year 2002, when Gujarat was really caught in the grip of a massacre of the minority community. And the way this queer person was killed was in exactly, or murdered in exactly the same way that the other Muslim women had been murdered. This was after a fact finding that we found. And Delphina, who was a Christian, actually Christian and Hindu women, they were living together. And Delphina just disappeared. She is not traceable at all. This happened in 2002, and in 2003 we began our postbox. So just a year later, maybe it's just a few months later that. So it's a cause of great pain. This is just a little picture from the old days when these two women lived together, and the heading says that a husband-wife pair lived together, and that created a big scandal. Chitralekha is a very popular magazine in Gujarat, and in fact parts of Maharashtra as well. It's read a lot by people. And so I think because of this publicity, the family felt their honor was lost, and they retaliated in killing them or disappearing. This is a scene from a tribal, rural tribal area where you see that two women are marrying each other, and this kind of legitimacy was derived from a very interesting tradition of a woman. It's complicated. She's biologically woman, but her daily life she lived as a masculine person. But on full moon days, she would turn into a goddess, or godlike figure who mediates between the goddess and the family. And this goddess you pray for domestic happiness. And so in a sense, this pair was allowed to marry because they were seen to be conforming to the gender roles. And our fact finding, of course, revealed to us the true story behind this, which was that these were two people who loved each other, trans man and a cis woman. And here is a picture of a very old tradition in the tribal area where actually women goes and marries a woman because there's a belief that if the man will go and marry the woman, he won't survive. So there is this brief window where you actually physically see two women marry each other. And it was a great thrill for us to actually find that it was possible. And Gujarat has this excellent partnership contract, which was actually used by men and women, but the queer women have used it, and it's called Maitri Karar. And recently, I think in 2019, the High Court recognized this as evidence of marriage and has given protection. So Gujarat in some ways has an interesting tradition, and that has created a space for queer couples to live together. And after this, we have this Nalsa judgment, and 377 has been finally thrown out of the window. We have the act, and now we are pushing for welfare measures. And finally, here is the Trans Day celebration that we had. We got the government to actually recognize that there are transmasculine people. Are we running out of time?
Yeah.
Oh, well, this is just a celebration, fun time, and finish. Thank you very much.
Thank you both. Thank you all. There's a lot of people there. We have a couple folks on Facebook who are just commenting and particularly congratulating you on your courage and encouraging this continuity of this work. Someone who's commented how pleased they are that you're able to live as openly as you are, given that even in the United States, this is still an issue that creates great tension still and acknowledging that God is love and that God wants us to be able to love faithfully.
Thank you.
Anyone on Zoom like to add anything at this point as I keep my eyes on the Facebook feed? I know that there are a number of people in the wider IPM family, which has always struck me, even in the United States, who, were uncomfortable being open about their own sexuality, even within IPM and certainly within the Lutheran Church from which IPM was born. So really important work. Clint McCann, who's our board co-chair, is commenting, thanking you for your work for justice and equity, and thanks for sharing with us again this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We have a question about, we have a question from Les Weber, whose sister passed away a little over a year ago. It was a very dear friend of Ilsa and mine and of IPM's for literally since its founding. And Les is asking, other than IPM, are you in touch with other LGBT groups in the United States? Do you have any kind of network or other groups that are supporting you or walking in solidarity, accompanying you in your important work there in India?
Well, a few people individually, yes, but we don't. There's this in San Francisco. There's this Desi group. What is
Desi
it?
Q.
Desi Q. Yeah.
It's a group.
Yeah. In San Francisco. It used to be in San Francisco, so we are in touch with those people.
And few people said.
Is that primarily a group of Indian?
Yeah, South Asian.
Indian
South
persons
Asian.
in San Francisco?
Yeah, not Indians.
For those
South
of you who
Asian.
don't, DESI often refers to South Asian LGBTQ group in San Francisco, if you didn't hear that, Les and others. And I should comment that it's, we're still, particularly with this government in India, we're in a, any international work is very tenuous.
Yeah.
The government would like to believe that it can handle all of the issues that India has to handle, much like the United States doesn't want to admit that we can learn from anyone else. And so it's really important to build these transnational multilateral collaboration connections. And I think it's
But America has moved away, hopefully moved away now.
We'll see. We'll see. We ebb and flow, so we'll see. But certainly, yes. I mean, I think there's greater awareness and greater openness, certainly, than, as you said, us older folks might remember from our childhood. Anyone else, anywhere else in the world want to comment? We have quite a few people on Facebook. And I don't know if you can see all this, Maya and Indira and your friends there, but we have people on Zoom from Nepal, from El Salvador, across the United States right now. A couple people online from Kenya and other places.
Yeah. Oh, we missed the Latin American presentation.
Well, there'll be another.
Yeah.
Adela,
So my
who,
was in touch
Yes.
because it was March 8th. We were also celebrating and doing things.
yeah, I should apologize. We didn't, of course, here's the cis guy saying this, but we were celebrating International Women's Day last week. And we had Adela present on really important work there. She's on this Zoom call, but we were really thrilled to have you all join us as we continue to celebrate Women's History Month, as it's known in the United States, and certainly IPM's longstanding commitment to women and girl children around the world. Adela, did you want to, or India? I see I'm just looking. Anybody want to add anything? Mahesh, any context you think we?
Yes, yeah, I'm glad to share a couple of things. And I think the key thing amongst, apart from everything else, the solidarity aspect of Maya's and Indira's work is, I think, unique. Most of us in our movements are so focused on the work we do and our, what do you call, sectarian approaches to this thing. They have a very integrated approach, both the intersection of all these issues of caste, class, and gender, but also this aspect of solidarity. And I think that is very unique, and that is born through a personal commitment to larger issues that society faces. So, and I think that is a unique message that they've always given, always stood by, and anybody can approach them. Anybody can approach them for any assistance, and they're usually there, always there for it. And if they're not able to, they always connect you to somebody who can. I remember two unique cases a couple of years ago when some children from West Bengal, they were bonded laborers, they were child laborers who were working in some remote area in Baroda, and we just made a phone call to Indira and said, we need to find these people, these children, where they are, and we found them. I don't know if you remember. And she really assisted us in that. So there are many cases like this which suddenly come up and no questions asked, nothing. We just call up, we say this is the issue. So it's a serious issue. They're there, right there for you anytime. So I just wanted to add that. Apart from that, I think there should be some more collaboration in terms of networking and more connecting with groups in the United States. And I think there are many universities where we give talks which we're connected with. And I think some opening up there and some connecting there would be mutually helpful, both in terms of learning and solidarity. So that is something I'm looking forward to. So a personal thanks to both Indira and Maya for being available to us last week and today.
It's always a pleasure, Mahesh, to be with you.
And thank you for listening in and inviting us yet again.
You're welcome anytime, anytime.
So, and you're welcome here. We have to meet in person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hopefully with the vaccinations, we'll see each other with hugs.
That would be really nice, and we're certainly hoping to be in India within the coming year. Many of us who are on the call, myself included. This would be really wonderful. And we'll also we can work with Mahesh. Adela, I think, is aware there are quite a few of IPM's partners in Latin America. I'm thinking particularly in Colombia and the Dominican and Brazil, where some of the women that IPM's partners work with, particularly in the marketplace, are often struggling with some very similar issues to what you address today, and some of the young men, obviously, as well. So hopefully we can make those connections. And if there are any groups in the United States, to Les's question, that you would like us to maybe make an introduction for you too, we'd be happy to try to do that as well.
Sure, we'll count on that help.
Yeah, Cleveland has quite a strong community, and so it would be interesting to explore how we might collaborate more fully in that way. Anyone else at this time? I want to be conscious of the time. I believe it's just past noon here on the East Coast, which means it's long past bedtime in India and Nepal. Anyone else want to add anything before we wind down? Maybe Ilsa? Looks like
I did want to add another heartfelt gratitude. I know that I've heard from Joe and Mahesh for a number of years the inspiring work that you're all doing, and I feel truly humbled, as I think we all have, in hearing your very personal and in many ways heartbreaking stories. I mean, I think what Mahesh shared in terms of solidarity being the key, I hope that through all the challenges that you've felt along the way in your important work, you feel a sense of solidarity with IPM and with all of us for the work that you are doing and the impact that you're having. It's a true connection of hearts, and we are so grateful for everything that you shared with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the appreciation. Really, thank you. It just encourages us.
There's a Meena Patel on Facebook. Some of you know who that is, who's
Yeah,
coming and you're probably
of course.
not seeing. Indira Maya and team, so great to hear from you. You and your team have really faced all odds to come so far ahead. All courage and solidarity to you and to the Vikalp Women's Group.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. And Mahesh, can you remind us what Vikalp means, just for those who didn't catch it in the feed?
Yeah, Vikalp is like an alternative, an option, and Maya could give a stronger definition to that.
No, that's fine. You put it well.
It has a punch in it, okay?
Yeah, it has a double meaning, or we say a stronger meaning. Well, that's great. Well, thank you all.
Joe, there's a few more quick comments in the chat, mainly thanking everyone from Sony and Vicky and Bindia for the presentation, and also a comment from Clint that says the Human Rights Campaign in the US would be a good contact. So just wanted to share as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So thank you all again for joining us. This has been a real highlight of our commemoration of International Women's Day and Women's History Month now, as it's known in the United States. As we've all said, and Meena said well in her chat, you too and your work have been a real inspiration. I know to Mahesh and his family and our partners in India, and certainly all the delegations from Yale Divinity School, Hathaway Brown, and other places that have visited with you over the years. So we're really grateful to have this connection, and really honored by your willingness to participate in today's forum, and for the others that were there with you to share your stories so openly, which we all are pretty well aware how difficult that can be at times. So we wish you well in your ongoing work and your love for one another and the people that you love in your lives.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You also have a great day, everyone.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. I will see you all next Friday and send out more.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.